Discussion on verses 1 to 20 of 20. This chapter opens by drawing the attention of the leaders of the non-Muslims of Mecca to a reality they were fully aware of. The honor, status, and protection they enjoyed among the tribes of the Arabian Peninsula was not a result of their own strength, intelligence, or achievement. Rather, it was granted to them because they were the custodians of the sacred house of Allah, the Exalted, the Kaaba. This distinction alone was more than sufficient to obligate them to obey Allah, the Exalted, something they themselves understood clearly. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verse 1.
I swear by this city, Mecca.
Despite recognizing this reality, they also recognized the truthfulness of Islam. As masters of the Arabic language, they understood that the Holy Quran could not be the speech of a human being. Its depth, precision, and unmatched eloquence were beyond the capacity of even the most skilled among them. Furthermore, they had lived among the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, for 40 years prior to his declaration of prophethood. Throughout that time, they never witnessed from him any form of deception or dishonesty, which made their rejection even more unjustifiable. Chapter 10 Yunus, verse 16.
For I had remained among you a lifetime before it. Then will you not reason?
In addition, it was widely acknowledged that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, had no exposure to previous divine scriptures. He neither studied them nor wrote anything himself. This fact was recognized not only by the people of the book, but also by the non-Muslims of Mecca. Therefore, the knowledge contained within the Holy Quran, some of which corresponded with earlier revelations, could not have been acquired through human means. This further confirmed its divine origin. Chapter 29 Al-Ankabut, verse 48.
And you did not recite before it any scripture, nor did you inscribe one with your right hand. Then, i.e., otherwise the falsifiers would have had cause for doubt.
Yet, despite these clear and undeniable proofs, they persisted in rejecting and opposing Islam. Their rejection was not based on a lack of evidence, but rather on their attachment to worldly desires, status, and authority. Accepting the truth would have required them to abandon their unjust practices and submit to divine guidance, something they were unwilling to do. Their opposition reached such an extreme that they violated even the long-standing sanctity of Mecca itself, a city that had been a place of safety and security for all people for centuries. In their hostility, they declared the life, honor, and property of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, to be lawful to violate within this sacred space. This was a direct contradiction of the very tradition they claimed to uphold. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verse 2.
And you have been lawful in this city.
Moreover, their behavior was filled with contradiction and hypocrisy. They claimed to honor the legacy of the Holy Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him. Yet they opposed and persecuted his descendant, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, who came to revive that very legacy of pure monotheism. Instead of supporting him, they chose to resist him, despite knowing the truth of his message. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verse 3.
And the Father and that which was born of him.
In summary, these verses expose not a lack of evidence, but a refusal to accept it. They highlight how attachment to worldly desires can lead a person to reject even the clearest truth, and how this rejection can drive individuals to contradict their own values, traditions, and claims. Allah, the Exalted, then consoles the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, his companions, may Allah be pleased with them, and all those who follow them in obedience, by reminding them of a fundamental reality. Hardship is an inherent part of human existence. Life in this world is not meant to be free from difficulty, but rather it is designed as a test through which people are distinguished. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verse 4.
We have certainly created man into hardship.
In order to successfully navigate these inevitable difficulties, a person must adopt patience. Patience is not merely enduring hardship outwardly. It is to refrain from complaining through one's speech and actions while maintaining sincere obedience to Allah the Exalted throughout the trial. This obedience involves using the blessings one has been granted in ways that are pleasing to Him, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. The foundation of patience lies in learning and acting upon Islamic knowledge. The more a person deepens their understanding and implements it, the more they realize that everything Allah, the Exalted, decrees carries wisdom and benefit, even if it is not immediately apparent. Difficulties are not random or meaningless, rather they contain hidden wisdoms that unfold over time. A powerful example of this is the story of the Holy Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him. He was separated from his parents, cast into a well, sold into slavery, and later imprisoned unjustly. Yet, each of these trials prepared him for a greater purpose, eventually placing him in a position to save an entire population from famine. Without those hardships, that outcome would not have been possible. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
Maintaining belief in this truth, and continuing to obey Allah, the Exalted, during hardship is a true sign of faith. It is easy for a person to express gratitude and devotion during times of ease, but the real test lies in remaining steadfast during difficulty. Studying Islamic teachings also helps a person put their hardships into perspective. When one reflects on the lives of those more beloved to Allah, the Exalted, such as the prophets, who endured far greater trials, their own difficulties begin to feel lighter. Similarly, observing others in the world who face more severe hardships can help a person remain patient and grateful. Another key aspect of patience is understanding destiny. Every event a person experiences, whether ease or hardship, has already been decreed. Complaining about something inevitable does not remove it. Rather, it deprives a person of the reward they could have earned through patience. Chapter 39 Az-Zumar, verse 10.
The patient will be given their reward without account, i.e. limit.
This presents a clear choice. A person can either face an unavoidable situation with patience and gain immense reward, or face it with impatience and lose that reward. Since the event itself cannot be avoided, the wise choice is to benefit from it in both worlds. Chapter 57 Al-Hadid, verses 22 to 23.
No disaster strikes upon the earth or among yourselves except that it is in a register before we bring it into being. Indeed that for Allah is easy. In order that you not despair over what has eluded you.
Islamic teachings also train a person to question their own desires. Many times, people strongly desire something they believe will bring happiness, only for it to become a source of stress. Likewise, things they initially dislike often turn out to be beneficial. Recognizing this pattern makes it easier to accept situations that contradict personal desires, trusting that they may hold hidden good. Furthermore, just as gold is purified through intense heat, a person's inner strength is developed through trials. Those who live overly comfortable lives often struggle to cope with even minor difficulties. In contrast, those who endure challenges with patience develop resilience, strength, and clarity. Patience is not limited to times of hardship. It is equally required during times of ease. In such moments, patience means restraining oneself from misusing blessings, such as wealth, health, or status, and continuing to act in obedience to Allah, the Exalted. It is also important to understand that patience does not mean passivity. A person is required to take appropriate action to address their situation within the boundaries of Islamic teachings. For example, someone facing harm or injustice must take steps to protect themselves. This does not contradict patience, rather it is part of it. Similarly, expressing natural emotions such as sadness or crying does not oppose patience. The Holy Prophet Yaqub, peace be upon him, wept deeply out of grief, yet he was not criticized. Chapter 12 Yusuf, verse 84.
And he turned away from them and said, O my sorrow over Joseph. And his eyes became white from grief, for he was of that a suppressor.
There are numerous instances when the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, expressed grief over sorrowful events, such as the death of his son Ibrahim, may Allah be pleased with him. This is recorded in a hadith found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 3126. Experiencing natural emotions, like crying or feeling sadness, is part of human nature and does not contradict patience, provided that one does not express disobedience to Allah, the Exalted, through their words or actions. It is essential to understand that true patience must be exercised from the very beginning of a difficulty, and sustained until a person departs from this world. This has been emphasized in a hadith found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1302. Patience demonstrated only after some time has passed is not genuine patience, but rather the natural acceptance that develops over time. Therefore, a person must control their speech and actions from the onset of a hardship, avoiding signs of impatience, and maintain this disciplined attitude throughout life, as failing to do so can diminish or even forfeit the reward of patience. Then Allah, the Exalted, cautions those who persist in disobedience, wrongly assuming that no one will hold them accountable for arrogantly misusing the blessings they have been granted. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verses 5 to 7.
Does he think that never will anyone overcome him? He says, I have spent wealth in abundance. Does he think that no one has seen him?
A person who misuses the blessings they have been granted should not be deceived into thinking that the absence of immediate punishment means they will escape accountability. Such behavior has serious consequences in this world. It disrupts mental and physical balance, causing the person to misplace priorities and mismanage relationships. Family, friends, career, and wealth, things that could bring comfort and security, become sources of stress and anxiety. Those who persist in arrogance and disobedience often misdirect their frustration, blaming others, such as their spouse or colleagues, for their hardships. This misattribution can erode the support networks they depend on, further increasing mental strain and potentially leading to depression, substance abuse, and even suicidal tendencies. The destructive effects are not limited to emotional health. Misusing wealth and resources can also create societal harm, spreading injustice and corruption around them. This pattern is particularly evident among the rich and influential who misuse their power and resources, even if they appear to enjoy every worldly comfort. The visible success and luxury may temporarily mask the internal chaos and discontent caused by their mismanagement and greed. However, because they fail to prepare for their ultimate accountability on Judgment Day, the consequences in the hereafter will be far more severe and inescapable. In essence, this verse serves as a profound reminder that blessings are not merely for personal indulgence. They are trusts granted by Allah, the Exalted, to be used responsibly and in ways that benefit both oneself and others. Misusing them leads not only to inner turmoil and societal harm, but also to inevitable and severe divine accountability. The temporary comforts of this world cannot compensate for the lasting consequences in the hereafter. Allah, the Exalted, then reminds people that the destructive outcomes of misusing their blessings can be avoided, as every person has been granted faculties of understanding and a perfect code of conduct. This code clearly differentiates the right path from the wrong, guiding people toward achieving peace of mind in both worlds, maintaining a balanced mental and physical state, and correctly placing everything and everyone within their life. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verses 8 to 10.
Have we not made for him 2 eyes, and a tongue and 2 lips, and have shown him the 2 ways?
No matter how sophisticated or technologically advanced a society becomes, or how much knowledge humans acquire in medicine, psychology, law, or social sciences, it is impossible for them to construct a code of conduct that perfectly aligns with human nature, moral integrity, and the full spectrum of circumstances individuals or communities may encounter throughout their lives. Human understanding is inherently limited and continuously evolving. Even with ongoing discoveries about the brain, emotions, and behavior, no human system can anticipate every situation or create a flawless framework that ensures balance, justice, and inner peace. Only Allah, the Exalted, possesses such comprehensive and infinite knowledge. As the creator of all things, His awareness encompasses every moment in the past, present, and future. He alone can provide guidance that fully distinguishes right from wrong, beneficial from harmful, and constructive from destructive. By adhering to this guidance, individuals are able to live in accordance with their true nature and purpose, cultivating a life of mental, physical, and spiritual balance while avoiding the turmoil and regrets that arise from misusing the blessings they have been granted. Historical evidence, both from human societies and personal experiences, demonstrates that when divine guidance is sincerely implemented, it produces tangible results. Tranquility, fairness, justice, and harmony flourish within both communities and individual lives. Conversely, neglecting this guidance leads to confusion, injustice, societal corruption, and personal suffering, even if worldly success or material wealth is temporarily attained. Therefore, it is essential for individuals to recognize the divine code of conduct as the ultimate source of benefit for their well-being. Even when aspects of this guidance appear to contradict personal desires, ego, or immediate comforts, one must act with patience, wisdom, and discipline. This can be compared to a patient who follows a physician's advice. Though the prescribed medications may be bitter and the diet restrictive, adhering to this guidance is ultimately in their best interest and safeguards their health. Similarly, obedience to Allah, the Exalted, ensures both worldly stability and preparation for accountability on the Day of Judgment, resulting in inner peace, societal harmony, and success in both realms of existence. By consistently choosing the right path, using the faculties of reasoning and reflection, and applying the divine code of conduct in every aspect of life, individuals ensure that their blessings are used appropriately. This prevents stress, misplacement of priorities, and moral imbalance while fostering justice, compassion, and wisdom, which are fundamental for a life of true peace and fulfillment. Allah, the Exalted, then highlights a critical reason why many people fail to achieve peace of mind in both worlds: the persistent prioritization of worldly desires over sincere obedience to Him. Often, obeying Allah, the Exalted, requires acts that contradict personal inclinations, comfort, or ambitions. Many individuals, however, refuse to overcome these inner obstacles and instead continue misusing the blessings they have been granted. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verses 11 to 16.
But he has not broken through the difficult pass. And what can make you know what is breaking through the difficult pass? It is the freeing of a slave, or feeding on a day of severe hunger, an orphan of near relationship, or a needy person in misery.
The first point to understand is that all of these examples relate to one's conduct toward others, rather than direct acts of worship toward Allah, the Exalted, such as obligatory prayers. This demonstrates that Islam is not limited to formal acts of worship. It governs every interaction and every worldly situation a person faces. Every choice, relationship, and action is subject to divine accountability. Consequently, no one should adopt the mistaken notion that Allah, the Exalted, only monitors religious duties while overlooking how they treat others or manage worldly responsibilities. To avoid this error, individuals must actively learn and act upon the guidance provided in the divine code. By doing so, they ensure that their behavior in all circumstances, whether in personal relationships, financial matters, or social interactions, aligns with Allah's commands. This comprehensive obedience leads to a balanced mental and physical state, a harmonious placement of people and priorities within one's life, and proper preparation for accountability on the Day of Judgment. The result is genuine tranquility in both worlds. Failing to integrate Islamic teachings into every aspect of life is equivalent to treating faith like a garment, wearing it only when convenient and discarding it when inconvenient. Such behavior is not true worship, but rather submission to one's own desires, even if one claims otherwise. Chapter 25 Al-Furqan, verse 43.
Have you seen the one who takes as his God his own desire?
When a person neglects to act on guidance in all situations, they inevitably misuse the blessings Allah, the Exalted, has granted them. This mismanagement manifests as an unbalanced mental and physical state, misplaced priorities, and a failure to prepare adequately for their responsibilities on the Day of Judgment. As a result, they experience stress, hardships, and challenges in both worldly and spiritual realms, even if they appear to enjoy material comforts. This demonstrates that true success and peace are inseparable from consistent obedience to Allah, the Exalted, across every aspect of life, not just selective observance or ritual devotion. Only by integrating the divine guidance fully can a person achieve stability, harmony, and long-lasting tranquility. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verse 13.
It is the freeing of a slave.
Islam addressed the widespread practice of taking captives during battles in a manner that was both just and pragmatic. At the time, capturing people as slaves was common across the known world, and prohibiting Muslims from participating in this practice would have placed them at a strategic disadvantage, as it would have allowed the Muslim slave population to remain small while that of non-believers would grow. To balance justice with practicality, Islam focused on two major objectives: improving the treatment of slaves and gradually abolishing slavery altogether. Firstly, Islam established strict ethical guidelines to ensure the humane treatment of slaves. They were to be treated with the same dignity and respect afforded to family members. For instance, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, instructed that slaves should be fed the same food, clothed in similar garments, and not overburdened with tasks. Instead, they were to receive assistance in completing their duties. This teaching is documented in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 4313. Such guidance elevated the status of slaves and protected them from abuse, transforming the existing social norms into a system based on justice and compassion. Secondly, Islam introduced mechanisms to gradually eliminate slavery. Freeing a slave became one of the most virtuous acts, carrying significant spiritual reward. For example, the one who freed a slave for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, was promised liberation from hell, as mentioned in a hadith found in Jami at Tirmidhi, number 1541. Moreover, freeing a slave was prescribed as a form of expiation for certain sins. For example, chapter 58 Al-Mujadila, verse 3.
And those who pronounce zihar from their wives and then wish to go back on what they said, then there must be the freeing of a slave before they touch one another. That is what you are admonished thereby, and Allah is aware of what you do.
Through consistent implementation of these principles, slavery within Islamic society was reformed and gradually eradicated. Slaves were treated with dignity, rights were protected, and acts of manumission were encouraged and rewarded, laying the foundation for the eventual elimination of slavery as it was known. Despite these historical achievements, forms of slavery continue to exist in some parts of the world, including financial slavery and human trafficking. People are therefore obligated, according to their means, to play an active role in eradicating such practices, whether through advocacy, financial support, or other lawful actions that promote freedom, justice, and dignity for all. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verses 14 to 16.
Or feeding on a day of severe hunger. An orphan of near relationship. Or a needy person in misery.
Orphans are frequently mentioned in Islamic teachings, because they are among those most vulnerable to having their rights neglected due to their social weakness. For this reason, a Muslim must ensure that they assist those who are socially weak, such as orphans and widows, according to their means. In the modern age, sponsoring orphans and widows has become remarkably easy, as one can arrange this online within minutes, often for an amount less than their monthly phone bill. Therefore, Muslims must not overlook this essential aspect of Islam, as it leads to the continuous support of Allah, the Exalted, in both worlds. This has been confirmed in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 6853. Furthermore, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that the one who takes care of an orphan will attain his closeness in paradise. This is mentioned in a hadith found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6005. Additionally, the one who takes care of the needy, such as a widow, will be granted the same reward as the one who prays throughout the night and fasts every day. This is advised in a hadith found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6006. Therefore, the one who finds it difficult to perform voluntary acts of worship, such as the night prayer or voluntary fasts, should act upon this hadith in order to attain immense reward with minimal effort. It is essential to remember that whatever means a person possesses, such as wealth, has been granted to them by Allah, the Exalted, as a loan rather than a gift. A loan must be repaid to its rightful owner. The way one repays the loan granted by Allah, the Exalted, is by using these blessings in ways pleasing to Him. Thus, the one who aids the needy is merely repaying the debt they owe to Allah, the Exalted. When a person remembers this, it prevents them from behaving as though they are doing a favor to Allah, the Exalted, or to the needy individual. In reality, Allah, the Exalted, has favored them by granting them worldly blessings, and by granting them an opportunity to earn immense reward through helping those in need. Likewise, the needy person has done the donor a favor by accepting their assistance. If every needy person were to reject the help of others, how would anyone obtain the reward mentioned in divine teachings? Remembering these points protects a person from adopting an incorrect attitude that would diminish or destroy their reward. Finally, aiding the needy includes fulfilling any lawful need a person may have. This encompasses emotional, physical, and financial needs. Therefore, no Muslim, regardless of how little wealth they possess, can excuse themselves from aiding the needy. Assistance is not limited to financial support. Even a kind word, a comforting presence, or a small act of service may fulfill a need and earn divine reward. In this way, every Muslim has the opportunity to participate in this noble act and draw closer to Allah, the Exalted, through sincere compassion and service. Allah, the Exalted, highlights the connection between deeds and belief, emphasizing that faith must be reflected in actions. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verse 17.
And then being among those who believed.
Placing belief immediately after good deeds underscores that verbal declarations of faith alone hold little value without corresponding actions. In this world, people may be recognized as followers of Islam based on their verbal profession of faith, but in the hereafter, Allah, the Exalted, judges individuals according to the state of their hearts and intentions, which remain hidden from others. Therefore, a person who verbally asserts their belief in Allah, the Exalted, and in accountability on the Day of Judgment, yet fails to embody this through righteous actions, may, in reality, possess little to no faith internally, and will be treated accordingly in the hereafter, regardless of worldly recognition. Moreover, neglecting to support one's verbal faith with actions carries a serious spiritual risk. Faith can be likened to a delicate flame that requires constant attention and care. Just as a fire will extinguish without fuel, faith weakens if it is not nurtured through consistent acts of obedience, reflection, and righteous conduct. Ignoring this spiritual upkeep can result in the loss of the inner guidance that illuminates the path of life, leaving a person vulnerable to moral confusion, spiritual emptiness, and the gravest of losses, the absence of faith when it is most needed. Sustaining faith, therefore, is a lifelong responsibility. It requires continually aligning one's actions with the principles set forth by Allah, the Exalted, so that the inner light of belief remains strong and unwavering, guiding the person through the trials and complexities of both this life and the hereafter. When a person chooses to follow the path of sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted, distinct from the majority around them, it often evokes feelings of discomfort or inadequacy in others. These individuals may recognize that their own choices prioritize personal desires over the teachings of Allah, the Exalted, and this awareness can lead them to criticize those who steadfastly uphold their faith, sometimes even within their own families. Societal pressures further compound this challenge. Social media, fashion trends, and cultural norms frequently reward the pursuit of wealth, status, and personal gratification, often portraying the adherence to Islamic principles as an obstacle to success or popularity. Industries and communities that Islam critiques may actively oppose the integration of Islamic values, discouraging Muslims from practicing their faith openly. These pressures can create an environment in which anti-Islamic sentiment thrives, as people attempt to influence others to abandon disciplined, faith-based conduct in favor of indulgence and self-interest. Those who strive to follow Islamic teachings, which emphasize moderation, responsible enjoyment of blessings, and self-restraint, often face criticism from individuals who act purely on impulse. These critics frequently target visible expressions of faith, such as the dress code for women, seeking to undermine Islamic principles by presenting them as restrictive or oppressive. However, the selective nature of this criticism highlights its superficiality. Professions like law enforcement, healthcare, education, and business have strict codes of conduct or dress, yet they rarely receive the same scrutiny. This discrepancy underscores that the opposition is not genuinely concerned with fairness or rights, but rather with Islam's emphasis on discipline, self-control, and moral accountability. Despite these challenges, a person must remain steadfast in their obedience to Allah, the Exalted. By committing to faith and righteous conduct, individuals gain protection from the corrosive influence of societal pressures, even if the benefits are not immediately visible. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verse 17.
And then being among those who believed and advised one another to patience, and advised one another to compassion.
Remaining loyal to Allah, the Exalted, ensures that a person uses the blessings granted to them correctly, fostering a balanced mental and physical state. This balance enables them to arrange all elements and relationships in their life harmoniously, while preparing for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. By acting with faith, patience, and compassion, individuals cultivate tranquility in both worlds, navigate all circumstances with clarity, and earn abundant reward in this life and the hereafter. This approach demonstrates that true guidance and serenity stem not from conforming to societal expectations, but from aligning one's life with divine instruction, even when faced with misunderstanding, criticism, or opposition. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verse 18.
Those are the companions of the right.
In contrast, those who choose to disregard the commands of Allah, the Exalted, in order to gain the approval of others or to satisfy worldly ambitions, will inevitably experience a loss of inner peace and stability. Such behavior encourages the misuse and mismanagement of the blessings Allah, the Exalted, has granted them, leading to disarray in both their mental and physical well-being. They will struggle to correctly place everything and everyone in their lives, leaving themselves ill-prepared for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. This negligence in fulfilling divine guidance results in enduring stress, ongoing challenges, and significant difficulties in both this life and the next, regardless of any material comfort, wealth, or worldly luxury they may possess. Their pursuit of fleeting approval blinds them to the eternal consequences of their actions, trapping them in a cycle of chaos and dissatisfaction. Chapter 90 Al-Balad, verses 19 to 20.
But they who disbelieved in our signs, those are the companions of the left. Over them will be fire closed in.
This verse highlights the severe and inescapable consequences for those who prioritize worldly approval over obedience to Allah, the Exalted, emphasizing that true security and tranquility arise only from sincere devotion and proper use of the blessings entrusted to them. Therefore, a person must accept and act upon Islamic teachings for their own benefit, even when these teachings contradict their personal desires. They must conduct themselves like a wise patient who accepts and follows the medical advice of a skilled doctor, knowing that the treatment is ultimately for their well-being, even if it involves bitter medicine or a strict diet. Just as this patient eventually attains good mental and physical health, so too does the person who embraces and implements Islamic teachings. This is because the only one who possesses the complete and perfect knowledge required to ensure that a person achieves a balanced mental and physical state, and correctly places everything and everyone within their life, is Allah, the Exalted. The understanding of the human mind and body possessed by society, despite extensive research, will never be sufficient to achieve this outcome. Human beings cannot resolve every issue a person may face. Their advice cannot shield one from all forms of mental and physical stress, nor can their guidance ensure that a person correctly prioritizes everything and everyone in their life. These limitations arise from restricted knowledge, limited experience, lack of foresight, and the presence of personal biases. Allah, the Exalted, alone possesses perfect knowledge, and He has granted humanity access to this knowledge through the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This truth becomes evident when one observes the difference between those who use their blessings according to Islamic teachings and those who do not. The contrast between these two groups is clear in their conduct, their emotional stability, and the outcomes of their choices. Even though patients often do not understand the science behind the medicines they are prescribed, and therefore trust their doctor without full comprehension, Allah, the Exalted, does not expect people to follow Islam blindly. Instead, He invites them to reflect upon its teachings so that they may recognize its truthfulness and appreciate its positive effects on their lives. He calls people to approach Islam with insight, not imitation. Chapter 12 Yusuf, verse 108.
Say, this is my way, I invite to Allah with insight, I and those who follow me.
In addition, as Allah the Exalted alone controls the spiritual hearts of people, the true abode of peace of mind, He alone determines who attains tranquility and who does not. Chapter 53 and Najm, verse 43.
And that it is He who makes one laugh and weep.
It is therefore clear that Allah the Exalted grants peace of mind only to those who use the blessings He has given them in the correct manner, as outlined in Islamic teachings. Those who live according to divine guidance attain clarity, balance, and inner stability, while those who misuse their blessings fall into confusion, imbalance, and distress. True peace, mental, physical, and spiritual, comes only from living according to the wisdom revealed by Allah, the Exalted, and from recognizing that His guidance is the only path that leads to tranquility in both worlds. Chapter 16 and now, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and may peace and blessings be upon His final messenger, Muhammad, his noble family and companions.